In a dystopian world filled with mass hunger, mass poverty, fights and wars, a billionaire has launched a huge online hunt in his online multiplayer virtual reality game known as the OASIS. He has launched this hunt, and the winner of this online hunt will receive $250 billion in their bank account along with a huge prize. The prize at the end of this hunt can be received by understanding and studying 1980s pop culture. So all of a sudden, in the year 2050, all of the people in the world are obsessing over 1980s pop culture to understand the rules of this game and to finally find James Halliday's Easter egg in his online game, The Oasis. That was the premise of Ready Player One, a novel by Ernest Cline and a novel I enjoyed immensely. I read this in the little time I was gone, and I'm super excited to share it with you guys. So sit back, relax, maybe grab some snacks and enjoy the video. As I said in the starting, this book is based in a dystopian world. This is a world where it's actually the opposite of a utopian world where everything is perfect. A dystopian world is where everything is negative, or almost everything is negative. There's mass poverty, wars, fighting, hunger. But there has been salvation for the people. There is an entire online virtual world known as the Oasis, created by a billionaire known as James Halliday. All he wanted to do was create a simple game. Little did he know he was going to create the biggest online platform the world had ever seen. And it grew to the extent that instead of being a regular game with some sets and some rules, it turned into a place where people can meet across the planet. It formed communities, it formed clans. People were learning entirely online. The worst part or the best part of the Oasis was its anonymity. Anonymity, as it is even today, is the best and the worst part of the online world. Over there, anyone can be anything. It is a good thing and a bad thing. People who do not get opportunities out in the real world have a chance to express themselves openly in this online world. However, you cannot trust a single person because you have to be sure that not a single person is telling the truth online. Ever. All of us hide who we really are and what we want behind those happy smiles online. Similarly, in this book, the Oasis is such a virtual platform where people can come, and since it's a dystopian world, people are bursting into the Oasis. So James Halliday created the Oasis, and on the day of his death, he released a video starting the biggest online Easter egg hunt. For those of you who don't know, Easter egg is something some sort of reference to other games or other movies that movies and books usually put in. Those are known as Easter eggs. So James Halliday has created a competition which goes across the world. People have to try to find his Easter egg, which is hidden somewhere in the Oasis, anywhere in that infinite world. You have to find something in an infinite world, and whoever does gets access to $250 billion plus a huge prize, which Halliday's avatar in the game will tell towards the end. So for 4 or 5 years, nothing happened on the leaderboard. No one was able to figure out anything about how to solve the hunt. But one day, a young boy named Wade Owen Watts managed to get his name on top of the leaderboard. His account name is Parzival, and he managed to find the first key and began the ultimate hunt for Halliday's Easter egg. How did he do this? You need to learn everything in 1980s pop culture, because Halliday was a big fan of 1980s pop culture. So everything in the Oasis which can lead you to the Easter egg has to do something with 1980s pop culture. He built the game with so many references to 1980s pop culture, which is something you can see in this book as well, which is a negative factor of this book, because you cannot expect me, a teenager living in 2022, to understand pop references from 1980s, all the movies, the directors, the games. Albeit, some people will enjoy that, some people will understand the references. I personally did not, and I do not expect many of you out there to do so. The main protagonist of this book, Wade Watts, has scrubbed through hours and hours of movies from the 1980s. He's seen shows, he's seen sitcoms, he's seen all sorts of comedy shows, he's seen movies, he's read all the books, he's played all the games over and over again, which is again something that I did not find realistic. I personally again do not feel that a teenager living in 2050 in a dystopian world where he should have so many more problems has managed to learn everything that has to happen in the 1980s. Over 1 decade of movies, internet shows, books, games, he's memorized them all. At a point in the book, they even have to enact movies without missing a single dialogue, or they lose points. He manages to do some of them perfectly, just losing a couple of points here and there. So the thing in this book is you're going to find so many references to 1980s pop culture, and so many times you're just going to be like, what's that? And that is again the negative part of the book. Ready Player One is also now a major motion picture directed by Steven Spielberg, who is also coincidentally mentioned and referenced in this book as well. Now here comes the plot twist in the book. The corporate world, or there's a corporation called the IOI who intends to take the OASIS and make it paid. For now the OASIS is free and anybody can access it, which is one of its major points. But as soon as the IOI is able to access the OASIS, they intend to make it paid so that they can earn money. All the egg hunters, as they've come to be known, the Gunters, are now trying to stop IOI from accessing the OASIS and having control over all the funds, because everyone wants the OASIS to remain free. So after Wade, 4 more people managed to get onto the leaderboard, and this is where the virtual reality world touches with their real life. The IOI is trying to find out their identities, and they have to run in the real world, become fugitives in the real world, and survive in the OASIS, all while trying to find Halliday's Easter egg. The thing about this book is, if I had to describe it in one word, I would call it geeky. It references all the sorts of things that you would typically imagine geeks and nerds to understand the references, to catch all the references to the 1980s pop culture, and I'm not the only one who thinks the same. Daily Mail has said, gorgeously geeky, superbly entertaining, this is really a spectacular, successful debut. Guardian has said, the strength of Klein's first novel, other than its geeky referencing of 1980s pop culture, is the characterization of the candide-like Wade and his redemptive quest in both VR, virtual reality, and the real world. So I agree with this. The entire book is phenomenal other than its geeky referencing of 1980s pop culture, because I'm not going to get those references. You're not going to get those references. Not many people nowadays are going to understand the references from 1980s movies and films and directors and actors and books and games, etc., etc. Now about our main protagonist, Wade Owen Watts. At the start of the book, he is an overweight person and he really doesn't like to go to school. He is sort of socially inept. He doesn't like to talk to people. He is the sort of person you would imagine that the OASIS is perfectly made for. He doesn't have to be socially inept in there, he can be who he wants. He doesn't have to be overweight in there, he can be whoever he wants. Now, as I said, it's a negative and a positive. He can be whoever he wants, but he is ignoring all the problems in his real life. At the end of the day, he is socially inept. That online avatar of his is not going to change anything. He is overweight, he is socially inept, and he's going to have to face those facts at one point. I believe this book delivers a powerful message of where to draw the line between our online world and our real world. The online world is phenomenal, it is incredible, and it connects us with people across the world. It has also given access to information that used to take years to find in the past. It's at your fingertips. You can access information anywhere for free. On On that note, I wanted to read a small paragraph that James Halliday's avatar says towards the end of the book. It is a spoiler, so those of you who don't want to hear this may skip forward, but it's not that big of a spoiler and I feel it conveys a really powerful message. James Halliday's avatar, called Anorak, took Parzival, or Wade, in his arms and said, "Listen, I need to tell you one last thing before I go. Something I didn't figure out for myself until it was already too late. I created the OASIS because I never felt at home in the real world. I didn't know how to connect with the people there. I was afraid for all my life, right up to the moment I knew it was ending. That was when I realized, as terrifying and painful as reality can be, it's also the only place where you can find true happiness. Because reality is real. Do you understand?" And Wade replies, "Yes, I think I do." Anorak says, "Good. Don't make the same mistake I did. Don't hide in here forever. And thanks. Thanks for playing my game." This book has 372 pages with a relatively big font, so you can finish it in about a week. It is also written in the first person perspective, from the perspective of our main character, Wade Watts. And it also involves a bunch of action, bunch of comedy. It is not only 1980s pop culture references, if that's what you're going away with. No, it has action, it has comedy, it has happiness, it is wholesome, and I definitely recommend you check out this book. It also has a second part which I haven't read yet, and I definitely want to read that soon enough. It is called Ready Player 2, and it released just in, I think, November of 2020, but I might be wrong. So on that note, thank you so much for watching this video. It's been fun to come back and I'm really happy that I made this video. I'll see you guys next time because I do have a few more books I want to share with you. Later!